Straw Hut Media.
Hi, this is Suzy Nakamura, and Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. I am Jake Hogan, your host. Grateful to be here. Grateful that you are listening, whether you're driving, whether you're exercising, using my podcast to fall asleep. It's all good. I just need the subscribers and I need the downloads. I'm desperate for subscribers and downloads. If you know people in a coma, subscribe them to our show. Have their nurses download our show for them. I'm told it's very good for people in a coma. That's up to you, audience. Get more subscribers and downloaders right now. I want to encourage you to email me at dbawjk@gmail.com with your suggestions, with your encouragement, with your bitter recriminations. Whatever you have to say, I will read it and I will respond. Whether I'm smiling or in tears, I will respond. So thank you for the communication. Communication is kind of more than half the reason I'm doing this in the first place, is so that I can reach out to people and talk to people and not feel quite so alone in the world. Yes, that's the title is also about that, not just me being a perv. Get that out of your head, people. I'm just a regular guy. Anyway, this show, as you know, is about me dealing with my problems with interesting and funny people. And today, the lucky person who gets to deal with my problems is Suzy Nakamura, the great television and movie actress and theater. Yes, theater. She's going to be talking about something that we spoke about not too long ago, which is she said she would be doing what she does if there was no audience and she never got paid a dime. And I said, bullshit. Why would anybody do that? Performing is like a transactional act where you want to give something and have somebody receive it. That is part of the acting experience. The other part of the acting experience is getting paid to do it so you can actually make your living at it. She wasn't saying she wants to not get paid, and she wasn't saying she doesn't want to have an audience. She's just saying she's that committed to her art that she'd do it if she didn't get paid. Art for art's sake. And I am such a whore that I need to get paid in order to motivate me to do the hard work of writing anything. I don't get paid for this, but I show up for this, but I get free soda waters. So it's good for me. That's enough. That's payment enough. And plus there's some people watching, there's an audience. So I don't know. I feel like there's a transaction happening here. People are getting something from it, but if people were getting nothing from it, it was just me in isolation, I wouldn't be recording the show and I wouldn't be writing and I wouldn't be doing the things that I do. So I want to talk to Suzy about her commitment to art and about the rest of her life, because she's an interesting gal and an adorable gal. So we will talk to her right after this.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Thank you for being here, Suzy.
Thank you for having me.
I would have gotten to you eventually because my Rolodex is just going to go down. But we were talking at a sad event together.
Yes.
And at a funeral, and we were talking about art. And we're talking about Charlie, guy kind of like Charlie wants to be a musician, and but he's worried if he can make money being a musician or being whatever he's going to be. And I said, I get it. I get how it is that when you're devoting yourself to a life of being an artist, like you want to know that you can make a career. And you said, no, bullshit. It's not about the career. I would do it for no money, for nothing. I would do it just to do it. And I said, nah, come on. And you said, absolutely. I love it. I do it for the love of the craft. I do it for the love of the thing. That's what you said. You were so adamant about it.
I did? I said, okay.
You were so adamant about it. You don't have to hold to that position now in the cold light of day. but you did say art, it's what you love, and what you do it for nothing. And I said, what about for no audience? Like with 3 people in there. I do it for that too. I just do it because I do it. And whether or not it's true now, whether or not...
No, I mean, you're reminding me of this conversation.
And it was like, holy shit, I wish I was like that true an artist that I would do it even if no one saw it.
You are, though.
No.
Yes.
No.
You're doing it now.
Well, I'm hoping that people will see this. I'm not doing it to just have it a souvenir, a thumb drive with this show on it.
No, but you're doing it now.
Yeah.
You're doing it. I don't know how else to say it.
But I'm hoping, I'm doing it in the hopes that, it is people are seeing it and people like it and
Okay.
people want to tell their friends.
So you're doing this podcast.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan.
Right.
What are your expectations? Or what do you want? What is your dream outcome, even though this is a process?
I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I have no idea. I'm sitting here with Ryan. He's a podcasting guy. I made a podcast. I recorded one with a friend of mine, and my friend Keener sent it to him, and he said, "Oh, this is good. You'll be doing this." And I said, "Great." And I had no expectations except there's a secret hope. The thing that drives me is the secret hope that somehow people are going to see this and say, "Oh, I really like this," and they're not going to get bored of me in like 4 episodes, which I do with every podcast I ever listen to. But they're gonna actually continue listening, and suddenly I will be Mark Maron or something. That suddenly I'll make gazillions of dollars. Like who is it? Joe Rogan makes gazillions of dollars in his podcast. And by the way, I can go that route. I could go the conspiratorial right-wing nut job thing.
You could, yeah.
So if
That'd be a great character for you.
Not a character. No, I'm just gonna. I'll just buy into it.
So, okay.
I've talked about this with your ex-husband about doing a podcast just called The Truth, and it's all lies. It's all conspiracy, and just doing the truth and seeing if I could adopt a character and just be that guy for a while. But the problem with that is I will be perpetrating evil. That's the problem.
There are some accounts on Instagram that they do things in the extreme,
Right.
but they do it completely seriously. So when you watch it, you can't tell if they're serious or
Right.
not. And I love that. That's like a little
That's how I would do it.
avant-garde. It's almost like guerrilla theater.
Right.
People are confused, but the people that know think it's hilarious.
But I'm here with you. Not because you're interesting and you're a friend, but you're also a famous person. You're a famous person.
I don't think you know what the word famous means.
Famous enough. You're famous enough. You're on TV and people know who you are and they know your face from television and from movies and stuff. So I have other friends who are not so famous who I are not on because I think, hey, Suzy will come on and maybe people will know who Suzy is and then I'll get more people to watch and listen.
Part of that is true, but the real truth, I'm telling you, is that of our conversation at that memorial.
Right.
And here's the thing. If you finish this process, let's say you did 22 episodes. I don't know how podcasts go.
Oh, we've done 22 episodes.
And let's say your friends love it and you have a good time.
Right.
I know you have a good
Right.
time. I've listened to the episodes.
Right.
You wouldn't say, I'm never doing that again. You would continue. Jay, I know you would. You like doing this.
I do improv shows for no one.
Yes.
On a monthly, if not weekly basis, I'll show up here.
For decades.
But there's a joy. I get something out of that experience. I get to do the thing that we've been trained to do, improvise, which is so much fun. And it's this weird cult group of people that really love to do it. But I mean, I do it, but I don't like doing it for no people. I don't like it when Transformers are out there and there are 4 of us in the group and there's 2 people in the audience. That's no fun.
I once did an Improv Olympic show for 3 people, and one of them was the valet guy who had just sort of stuck his head into the theater.
I've done those shows because show business is my blood. The show must go on, right? But we don't like doing that show.
It was fine.
It was okay.
It's a great story.
Yeah, but you're doing it, and there's probably people in the audience go, ha! Just that like you do something.
Did you stop and you never went back?
No, of course I went back. All the
Okay,
time.
you're making my point for me.
No,
Jay.
I don't.
You're already this person.
Because you were talking about theater. You were talking about doing plays in front of people, and plays are different than improv. They require work and auditions and rehearsals and weeks and months of your life to get there in front of people to do this thing.
Well, I remember the conversation now. Okay. I don't know if I said I would do plays. I don't know if I was.
You did. You said
went
plays.
As far as I would do plays in my living room for no people. But there's a creative part to what we do, right? You're a writer, but improv isn't writing, and
I'm
this
an
isn't
actor
writing,
too.
and you're an actor
Damn
too.
You.
But like for Charlie,
Yeah.
I think this is what I said. Did I give you a Debbie Gibson quote?
I would have remembered.
Okay.
And if you said Deborah Gibson, I would have been even more impressed.
Okay, years ago, obviously in the 80s or 90s, one of my best friends was a musician, and he told this quote to me. So I'm paraphrasing his telling of it, but he said that Debbie, in an interview, Deborah Gibson, formerly Debbie Gibson.
I think she's back to Debbie. She tried Deborah and nobody liked it, and she's back to Debbie.
She said, if I'm not successful, I'm still going to do music.
What if you're successful in 1981 and then never again?
She's still going to, she said in this interview, she's still going to do it in her garage.
Okay.
And that's what made me think of her, because you were talking about Charlie. Like, Charlie is an artist. He has it in him. He wrote music for this show.
Yes.
You didn't pay him.
Oh, God, no.
He didn't do it for...
I'm not getting paid. He's not getting paid. That's how it is.
I think it was... I'm not going to tell him I said hi, by the way.
I will.
I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I think he enjoyed doing it.
Well, let's still talk to Charlie about that. Here's the thing. I asked him to write a theme for the show, and he said, sure. And then about 4 months later, I asked him, hey, anything going on with the theme of the show? And he said, I'll do it. And then about 3 months after that, I said, hey, I really need the theme for the show because I really want to do them. And the reason I'm not doing them is because I'm waiting on the music that you're going to provide. And I went, okay. And so he then went into his room and...
Did it in how long?
Half hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a teenage thing. That's an art, not necessarily.
And they're great.
And
I love his music.
He's so effing talented that he was just, as human beings, we only do things that we have to do.
I agree.
And teenagers are sort of the epitome of that.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to do anything unless you have to. So that's a teenager thing. That's not an artist thing.
All right. Well,
and he was thinking about it the whole time.
You
I'm not defending him.
Have been on dozens and dozens of TV shows. You have been in many, many movies. You're successful in the world of acting, and you're a successful actress. I'm not saying that there's a hierarchy of things, but you're a successful actress, and you've made your living at it in a way that people dream of doing. So you come from it, from having felt the success. If suddenly that was ripped away from you and said, no, now you're not a pro, you're an amateur, and that's just going to be you doing these things for free while you also work at an accounting office and that stuff. And do you still stand by the idea?
Yes. Not only do I stand by that idea, I did that.
Okay.
And I'm still doing it. I just did something yesterday. Ultra low budget. It was for a friend of mine.
Right.
I don't know what the micro budget contracts are, but it was something like $70 or something like that. And I said, the people who worked on it just sort of donated that back to the production. And when I was in Chicago, I worked a day job and I did shows at night.
But when you were in Chicago, you grew up in Chicago, and you were going to, I guess, college and maybe doing Second City at the same time, maybe?
I left college because I was hired at the Second City.
Okay. So, but even then, you're still sort of struggling and figuring out you have to have a job.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not going to pay you.
No,
at the theater,
I worked retail.
Right? So you work, and I read somewhere Crate and Barrel.
I did. I worked at Crate and Barrel.
So I get that. That's how when we begin, we sort of we will support ourselves and support our art through work.
That's how you begin. But isn't that the ultimate
Couldn't
goal?
that be? But if that was the end, if somebody at Crate and Barrel said, oh, by the way, this is as good as it's going to get. That's all you're going to get. And by the way, it's Second City is going to, you'll be about 3 or 4 or 5 years, Second City, then done.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it.
Okay, so here's my question to you. Why do we have to merge art and commerce all the time?
Well, we don't. And the best art, people, I've been reading a lot about trying to be more zen about your art and your work, and the process. It's the making of the art is the much more important part of the process, not the result, not who hears it. And if no one else hears it, we shouldn't care. We should just say, I made this for me, and put it out in the universe and see who likes it. That is a much more, a higher way of looking at it. But I am, I judge my work by whether or not people actually like it. And if I wrote a script and everybody said, I don't know, not for us. And person after person after person said, don't love it. What?
Are you writing for them though?
I'd be hurt.
Are you doing it for them, or are you doing it for yourself?
Sometimes I'm doing it both. In other words, I'm often and it doesn't work anymore this way. It used to. I was trying to write something that I think would appeal to a buyer, not just something I want to write, but something I want to write that's also in the mindset of the kind of things I'm hearing people are interested in buying. So if I was writing a show just about, this, a podcast with Jake Hogan,
yeah,
I say no one was going to want to buy that.
Write what you know.
No one will buy that. But I can write a show about a family or about a guy who's been who's difficult,
okay,
and find some life circumstance that I think is resonant to me, but also dramatically interesting to the buyer, whoever the buyer may be, whether it's a streamer or a network or whoever.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
I think I know you well enough where I feel like you like a lot of aspects of reaching out to people, talking to people, telling stories, telling jokes.
Yes.
And I feel like if the television and movie industry closed tomorrow,
which it might
close tomorrow, you would still talk to people.
Yes.
Tell jokes.
Yes, but I'd also be working at the accounting firm,
So what if the audience came last?
But in the joke, the audience comes first. See, that's the thing. I'm a comedian, or I'm a would-be comedian or a comedy writer. If I write a joke and there is stone-faced silence, that is failure.
But I know I've done shows where you tell some real specific joke about,
They'll get it. They'll get specifics.
No one laughs except one bearded guy in the back.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying.
Right. Yeah.
No,
it can be
really satisfying.
When I ran shows, I would allow myself one joke that no one else got, but that I got. And I said, because the audience is 200 people, I'm going to show the show to hopefully hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. There'll be some people who get this joke.
Okay. What if you just isolated that?
The problem is, the part of the thing that I love doing is making shows. So I love working with really talented actors and really talented writers and really talented DPs and art directors and all this kind of, and I don't get a chance to do it unless a certain amount of people sign off on it and say, I think it's funny, it's good. So I have to appeal to a certain amount of people. They have to like it. I don't have the power to just say, walk in the room, hey fuckers, I'm Jake Hogan, here's your script you're doing.
So the ultimate existence for you is to sort of combine your expression of art and making money, so that you could do simultaneously. And
it's not just making money; it's the power. There's power underneath making money that gets you to make the project. I'm not writing novels; I'm writing screenplays and plays. So I want to get them made, and I want to get them made in the style of which I'm kind of accustomed, which is often cost $2 million an episode to do, and I'm not going to foot that bill. And so it's a system. Now I can work in a new system, which is like YouTube, and just shoot your own stuff and go for that. But I don't think I would have as much fun.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I also think because your dad was, in this, so ingrained in this industry, the television industry, so that you can't unlink yourself from that.
A little bit.
Part.
But
I also know it comes out of you. You don't get paid to do, you had the Philosophy Friday series on Twitter.
Right. Still do, guys. Philosophy Friday, every Friday.
Episode
215.
You like reaching out to people. You like interacting with people. I think I'm making a lot of assumptions here. Right. But, and you like learning about people.
I do.
You don't do that for money. You don't do that for exposure.
No. And I like that because that whole interaction, Philosophy Friday, is filled with kindness on a platform that's filled with hate. So so I feel like I'm fighting the man with kindness. No one's ever insulted in that 3-hour Friday session. Yeah. Not a person. It's not all that funny, but it's sweet, and it's people feeling feelings, and it's a different side of me. And
you enjoy it.
Yes.
So if we boil down what you like, what gives you joy to whatever's the residue at the bottom of a
interaction,
a tincture,
right?
then
I prefer unguent, but go ahead. Yeah.
then when you create, it will give you joy, and you don't have to worry about like, will I make money? Will people like it? Like when I leave an audition and I like the character and I know who the character is, or at least think I know who the character is, and I make, choices and I don't get it.
Right.
I don't care, because what I have offered them, the creative part that, that I contribute, that is the best I can do. And if that puzzle piece doesn't fit in their puzzle, I don't take it personally.
Well, that's the way to survive that job.
It is, but that's what I have to offer.
I understand. And that's good. And that's true. And that's mature. And that's why you get work, is because you're going in with the confidence of, this is something I'm giving that's good. And producers aren't watching you going, God, she's nervous and she's freaked out and what a nightmare.
But that's the process. That's the creative process for me.
Yes.
When I create a character based on words on a page, my job is done. Whether I get hired or not after that is not my business.
Do you like self-tape?
I don't.
Right. Okay. Why?
My cat has not learned to read yet. Off camera. Yet.
Right.
And I like
feedback, interaction, human contact.
Well, I do self-tapes and I submit them, but
that's not the same thing as
it is. It's a little bit like a guessing game, but at the same time, and look, it's a privilege to come from this place where like, I don't care what they think, but I wasn't as successful when I auditioned thinking, what do they want? And I have enough experience now to go, this is how I want to do it.
That's a non-winning game for an actor. What do they want? That is not.
It's a non-winning game.
You will lose that part. You will not give, because you have to give some piece of yourself. You have to just decide. Actors, listen to this. If you read a role, it's not what do they want. It's what are my choices? What
do I have to offer?
What do I see in the scene happening? What do I creatively see this character going through? And how can I then bring that attitude and ideas forth?
How do I take these words and filter it through this singular version that is myself?
Right. And then if it's not what the producers want, then it's not what the producers want. But at least you've done the job of creating a character, creating a moment, bringing something to life in your way with your vision.
Yes.
Fantastic. And it may be something that the producers never dreamed of, but then see it and go, oh, that's fantastic. And it may be something like, oh, that's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And if it goes through your filter, no one else would have done that. Right. You're going to be the only one that has made those choices.
Right. But then every line, even like, and right, and...
even the breaths.
Right. That is all part of what's going on in the scene, and those are all choices.
And that's the best part for me. That is the most fun for me. I know I'm alone on this, but I love auditioning. And maybe it's because I come from sketch comedy. Right. Maybe it's because I come from improv. I love playing a character for 2.5 minutes for either 8 people at a table or 2 people behind a camera or whoever it is. It's just different rooms. And that is the most creative part of the job, because after that, if you get it, then the director directs you, someone else dresses you, but your audition is like, I'm going to dress this is what I think the character will wear. This is what I think the character will, sit or stand or do or breathe or whatever. That's all you. Right. And then when you get it, then you kind of have to let that character go.
Tell me if you agree with this. I think there are 2 kinds of actors. There are actors who are 2 kind of successful actors.
Okay.
They're either people who are pretty smart, pretty creative, and see the world and can then use their knowledge of the world and their knowledge of character to invest it into those things and choose line by line by line what each moment means to them and the character they're creating, which is a difficult task and takes a lot of brain power. The other kind of really successful actor is a complete fucking weirdo who is just a personality in and of themselves. And when they walk into the room, they are that guy. And it doesn't matter if they speak in weird affectations or strange accents. It's just like, oh, we'll give that person anything they to say. And then it'll be interesting when they say it.
That actor, by the way, is very difficult to work with.
Oh, horrible. And to direct, forget about it. You're committing to never direct that person. You're just saying, okay.
But both kinds still have a singular take.
One is through creativity and vision and work, and the other one is just born that way.
Both of those approaches are the audience comes last. Both of those approaches are like, I am doing this.
I disagree with you. I think the first approach of the actor who is choosing each moment and each line is giving some piece of their own soul and putting it into the character, and the audience, that's what the audience craves. The audience doesn't come last for that.
I'm not doing that for a reaction. If I was doing it for reaction, I would make only safe choices.
I guess I don't think those safe choices are ultimately what would get you the part. And if that you want success, you don't go and also ultimately what audiences want, because they're going to think you're boring. So I think that the road to success, and we're talking here a little bit about success driven. We started with that conversation. Being success driven in art is creating something that's meaningful to people and enjoyable to people and interesting to people and surprising to people. But to do that, you can't anticipate that. You just take the situation that's meaningful to you, the character that's meaningful to you, and bring it on, put it on stage and put it on the camera and put it on the page and see where it takes you.
Okay, so you don't have to say the names of the shows that you've worked on, but are your favorite experiences writing the most successful?
No.
For me, it's also true. In fact,
they
the
have
opposite of that.
Not exclusively the most successful, but two of my favorite experiences ever writing were The Simpsons and Frasier. And they were very successful.
That was very successful.
They're crazy successful.
I've heard of both of those shows.
And we got to do exactly what I'm talking about on The Simpsons, which is talk about our view of the world, put it out there, not knowing anybody would like it or not like it.
Did you care if they liked it?
We wanted it to be funny for people, but
it was funny to you first.
We knew, exactly. We knew, but we did. There's a lot of things that were funny to us that we said, oh, that people won't get that reference, and we pushed aside. So it goes through a filter of stuff that's funny for us, but also there's a chance a good number of people will also get it, and Frasier too, even though they were trying to be, pretend erudite, they were still using references that people would get.
Will you explain to the audience and Ryan what a Nakamura is in?
Okay. So Nakamura, and you should be very proud of this, in television writing is a joke that you set up somewhere towards some part of the script, and the writers loved it so much.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious to us. They're going to do it again and do a callback.
Do a callback.
And do it a callback again, maybe.
Like a runner. It's a runner.
It's a runner. It maybe happened 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times. And the Nakamura is when the first one you do dies. And it's in front of a live audience. And there are 4 more coming. There are 4 more callbacks to the horrible joke that you've done, and you can't change it.
You can't change it.
It's your fucked.
It's part of the structure now.
It's called the Nakamura. I don't know. When did you first learn the sad lesson?
Just for the audience, you should know that this is not
based
named
on you.
after.
It's based on the name of a character of a doctor.
Yeah.
I believe it's in Taxi, maybe Taxi.
I thought it was Newhart, but it's
maybe Newhart.
It borders on urban myth now, but
it was one of a classic sitcom, and paging Dr. Nakamura was supposed to be the laugh. And it didn't happen.
Nothing.
And scenes were based on it. Jokes were based on it. It wasn't just you can rip it out. You had to suffer through it. So everyone knew, the writers knew that only a terrible, 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 sad moment was coming. And the actors who had forced on stage to do it also waiting for the death joke that was going to come.
So I don't expect a real answer, but do you think the writers wrote that because they thought it was funny, or did they think that the audience would think it was funny?
Oh, absolutely. They thought it was funny. Jokes don't go into ever. I've never been in a rewrite room where everybody said, I don't like it, but the bozos on the stage, they're going to like it.
Okay.
There's so many jokes to choose from. Why would you put a joke that you didn't like? The showrunner, at the very least. The person who pitched it and the showrunner at least have to think it's funny. There are other people in the room who could go like, that's not going to work. But the guy or woman who pitched it and the showrunner said, yes, I think it'll work. I think it's funny, and I think the audience will like it. There's no like, they're going to hate this, but let's put it in anyway.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
The point I'm trying to make
Yeah.
is I think there is something in you
Yes.
and it has to come out. And
I'm sorry about that. I have
I
breakfast.
think there's a creative part of you that you have, sort of like linked to business and making money and commerce that it's difficult to unlink. But if you could isolate that urge or joy or satisfaction or accomplishment, then you can merge it back into commerce.
So we're in a world right now where almost anything could be a TV show. There's no limitations to be in the streaming show. If I want to do a show about a guy who masturbated all day long, I could make that show. I could picture. I could write that show, and it's called
Wank On.
Captain. Yeah, Wank On. So it's a Wank On, and it starts with this guy jerking off, and then goes on, and then he gets into a relationship, but he can't have the relationship because he likes jerking off.
He
too
loves
much.
jerking off too
and
much.
it's like it's all the and no one at Netflix or Amazon Prime or Apple, no one would go like, well, we can't do this. They might not like it, but they say, well, if you wrote them the log line, it's about a guy who jerks off, but it's how it's ruining his life. Then let's have the meeting. They would have the meeting.
Yeah.
They would have they wouldn't say this is too far. So you can
It's
do
easy to pitch.
Yeah,
It's easy to...
Listen, I have stories. But like, what is the thing? There's been shows about murderers. There's been shows about people who are pervs and people who are creeps and people who are murderers and strange family dynamics that are upsetting. And
But the thing that people like isn't sort of, the concept. They like, the concept of is like cop show, hospital show.
Right.
They like the specific point of view that, like, I don't know. I can only think of the bear because I think I saw something driving here. It's a specific point of view. It's a specific experience. Most of us have not worked in like a kitchen and all that stuff. But what's interesting to the audience is that it seems to be like a unique expression or experience but there's a universal part of it.
yeah,
So
for sure.
your jerk off guy is, we maybe
Clyde.
can't.
His name is Clyde.
Clyde. I can't relate to Clyde, but there's parts of
Can relate to obsession, whatever.
addiction,
Sure, all that stuff. Sure,
embarrassment.
that's what we love about Clyde. That's why we're there.
There are tissue boxes in every room.
Exactly. Yeah. His lotion budget huge.
Yeah, my mom had tissue boxes in every room for a different reason.
Right. Did your mom probably didn't do this? I find that older people, when they get older, leave tissues around the house. Did your mom leave tissues around the house?
This is what women do, and I don't know if it's a specifically Asian thing to do or just older women, is they tuck it under the sleeve of their
Yes,
shirt.
put it in their sleeves. But then my Nana Pauline had tissues always in her sleeves, but also tissues like lying around, like balls of tissues, because
Is
she'd
that
get
something
older.
she would use? It's like, I'm going to save this, I'm going to use it later. I can
I'm
use
not
it twice.
sure. It may be dementia. Like don't realize I left it there, but I noticed it's happening, and I noticed my father doing it as well. His mother did it, and then my father's doing it
as
well. But go on. I interrupted you completely about tissue boxes. About the characters.
They actually mimic our parents' behavior, even if we don't like it.
Yeah, it's true.
If we haven't been shown an option.
Right.
Another option.
Yeah, and even sometimes if we have been shown another options, there's something innate. We learn so deeply from them about who to be. And
when you start using paper napkins and like balling it up and leaving, will you call me?
I will. I think I don't do that. I think I was really because it bothered me so much when my grandmother did it, and now that when my dad is doing it, I don't do it. But when it starts happening, I'll know it's the end. That at that point, that it's time.
It's time. And you probably won't even remember my number by then. Okay.
Will there be phones or just chips in our head?
There'll be chips in our head.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get back to masturbating. Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yes.
No. You're saying I think you have a misconception to me about what I already do, which is I already take something I'm passionate about, something I think is interesting, and I put it out on paper, and I try to put it in a form that I think people will buy or that people will also like. So not because I'm selling out necessarily, but because I think, okay, well, everything's a step.
Because you want to share it.
Well, I want to share it, but I want to get to, when I have an idea, I want to pitch it. And then when I want to pitch it, I want them to buy the show so I can write it. And then when I write it, I want them to buy it so that they're going to make the pilot.
So that you keep
and then
going.
for the pilot, I want them to make the series. And when they make the series, I want them to pick it up from 6 to 13, and from 13 to 22, and from 22 to season 2, and all that stuff. So at some point, they're going to tell me to fuck off. But I want to get as far as I can before they tell me to stop.
In that specific format, you don't want to like write a memoir of your incredibly interesting life. And
God, our memoir's so boring.
no, yours wouldn't be.
Oh, it'd be so
You don't want to write a
boring.
play. You don't want to.
Why?
Because you have
What's better about a play?
I don't.
I have the same problem with a play. You got to write the play. You got to have people invest in the play. Have readings.
You like telling stories.
I know, but I'm still telling stories. But I'm not. I don't understand what you're saying that I'm not doing.
But what you just described was so specific. You're writing a pilot, shopping it around.
Right. And that's what you have to do with a play. That's what you have to do with a movie. That's what you have to do with a book, a memoir. I still have to write the little memoir book synopsis and send it to the publisher in order for them to want to buy it, and unless I want to self-publish on Amazon.
But
and then I'm just like a shithead podcaster who's just putting out a podcast that nobody's going to oh, wait. Oh,
Wait,
shit.
hello?
That's us. That's
hello?
me.
Hello?
God damn it. Ryan got me into this. All right, never mind. So I'm doing it for no one, or I'm playing in a larger game of media and trying to get to the higher end of that.
What is the joy, though? Tell me what you enjoy.
Being with people, really creative people, and actually making the thing.
Making the thing. So you shop it so you can keep going, and
Right.
you want it on television so other people can enjoy it, and you can keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved every show I've ever made. I've loved making. I loved School of Rock. I love Wendell Vinny. I love Frasier. I love and not everything was successful. And I loved making The Wrong Guy or whatever. But and things were met with different levels of people liking it and people not liking it, and that's okay. But I got to make it.
So
and I have so many things I didn't get to make. That in each little one of them, I was glad that they're written, and a part of me is heartbroken that they're not made.
And your question is, what do you do if you can't do that anymore?
Right. If they said, no more making the shows, you can just write them and put them on a shelf. And I would say, ugh, that is horrible. That's a form of hell I don't want to put myself through.
But could we do readings in someone's garage and make each other laugh?
That's a lot of work for a garage party that I could just put on a comedy record of Bob Newhart and we could laugh anyway. Like, I don't know. If you couldn't act.
If I couldn't act at all.
We couldn't act at all, but
No,
you could,
yeah.
You could act in your bathroom.
I don't know if I would necessarily keep acting, but I would, try and make my friends laugh, and I would find some sort of other creative output.
Right.
You know what? It doesn't even have to be linked specifically to art either, like painting or music. But I would garden or crochet or something.
That's hobbies. Are they art? Is that hobbies?
I think crochet is called
Gardening?
slow art. Maybe not gardening, but the ultimate existence.
Who's
right?
the greatest artist gardener? Of all the great gardeners.
Of all the
great gardeners.
I guess not. But I guess it's like assembling colors. I know a landscape designer, so maybe that's why I feel like.
And walking through nature can be very spiritual and soulful and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. Art to me is a form of communication, and maybe that you can do it through gardening. Maybe you can do it through crochet.
I don't know if I would be as satisfied.
You have something to say. You have something to say about the world. Can you say it through crocheting? Can you say it through, what's the
You
best
can
way
actually
to
say it through pottery. I know that you could see people's personality in pottery.
Yeah. All right.
I think the question for both of us is, if all the toilets disappeared tomorrow, where would we shit?
Yes. Right. Well, I mean, New York City has answered that. And it's right in the street. It's right in the middle of the street.
Not to continue in this horrible metaphor, but we would still shit.
Yes, that's right. And I would still observe the world, and I would still have conversations that I think are interesting with interesting people. That stuff wouldn't stop. But the thing I've trained to do for a lot of years, which is be a writer, director, actor, writer mostly, and all those other things are people are sort of kind of willing to let me do because I'm asking, but not because they love me doing it. But writing, they pay me. If I'm doing that in this form, I have to do it with the hope of it being seen by a lot of people and being enjoyed by a lot of people.
It's such a specific form, though, and going back to the beginning where I said we don't do anything unless we have to. If you were forced to not do television specifically, I think you would be forced to do something else, and it would be great, and it would be. I
tell you what, I wouldn't
satisfying.
do is sit alone in a room and write. That would not be that would be not how I choose to spend my time.
But the golden age of television, I'm sorry, I hate when people say "but," and I've said it a lot.
That's all right.
The golden age of television was when they couldn't do and say certain things, so they got more creative. I think limitations force us to be more creative.
Yeah, I agree that you need to have know sort of the canvas you're working on and what is where the edges are and what's okay and what's not okay. And network television has different rules or had different rules than streaming television, and kids television they worked on had different rules, and that's okay. All of that's fine. We work within those rules and we do the best we can with those rules. Sometimes it's very frustrating because on the streamer I could say this word and on Nickelodeon I can't, and I think my audience, even though they're kids, wouldn't be offended, but it would be great, and you think, well, you can't do it anyway. So
I do love Sesame Street because they would always throw in an older joke.
Yeah. But I mean, so would Bugs Bunny was always throwing jokes that I wouldn't
Muppet
get. Muppet Show, sure.
Not a kid's
but those
show.
weren't for kids. Those were family shows. Those are family shows. But Sesame Street was absolutely for adults to watch too. I used to watch Sesame Street beyond when I should have. At 10 years old, I'm still watching Sesame Street because I was entertained.
Yeah.
I like the musical numbers and I like the jokes.
I still like puppets. The other thing that has changed for us too is because we're older now, and I feel like I do mostly television. The landscape has changed for older people, especially for comedy.
Do you worry that it's drying up for people?
Women?
For women, for older women, for older people?
No, because I kind of look forward to my second act.
What would that be?
I don't know. I would have to be forced into it.
Okay. But
I'm still on plan A, which is grow up to be an actor.
Right.
But, like the people I know have had midlife, they call them a midlife crisis. They've been great.
Right.
I look forward to that, where I'm prevented from doing the only thing I know, so that I have to do something else.
Right. It's interesting also to me that you as an actor who came from comedy or whatever, you do legitimate acting. Like you've toured theater companies and done real acting. Like so many of my compatriots in the world of comedy improv is like, I don't study acting. I just do the part. I just try and do stuff. They don't think to do a piece of theater. They don't think to do.
They could though. I don't know if I could be objective, but I think any funny actor can do anything. I think if you can do comedy, I think if you can do improv, I think you can do anything.
I don't know.
Maybe not improv. A lot of those guys aren't trained.
Because those things are not necessarily, you don't have to be great at presenting a character. You have to you can hint at presenting a character, and that's enough, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to really be a good Tennessee Williams style actor. You can just talk in a fake Southern accent for 2 minutes, and then the audience gets what you're doing. But
I was doing a monologue show, and one of the actors dropped out last minute, and they said, "Do you know anyone who could do this?" And I called Pressman.
Right. David Pressman, the great David Pressman.
David Pressman, and he has not done theater. Mm-hmm. And I found this out right before we were going to shoot a show in front of a live audience. Right. And I said, would you do, we don't have time to rehearse, but you would basically sit there with the script and do it out loud and da-da-da. And he did it.
I'm sure he was great.
He was great.
But he's great.
He was great, Jay. Yeah. And he has never considered doing theater or anything else. He's a television, primarily television actor. Oh my God. And his father is a stage actor.
Right. And who also does movies and TV
Who does
as well.
movies,
Yeah.
but it was automatic for him.
Right. Well, he's very good. He's very good.
So good.
And he commits. And that commitment travels forward. There's a difference between somebody who sort of ambles through an improv and kind of winking at the audience and somebody who's there in the moment and being that character. And those are the people who I love, who just really commit, and they're straight-faced and they're in it. That's great. And sometimes I can be that, but most of the time I'm that goofy, smirking guy in the back. Like, oh, this is so funny. It's like, so that's problematic for me, because I wish I was more like the David Pressman, who could commit to the real.
With no rehearsal.
Yeah.
Compared to the people that have been rehearsing the whole time.
I'm not surprised that you have actors like him and Dan Castellaneta or whatever, who could just be the thing. Fantastic.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Do you get joy from acting?
I do. I love it. And whenever I'm given a chance to act, I say yes so fast. And I'll say, I'll be there on time. I'll wear my own clothes. I'll know my lines. I'll be very good. But I do get joy from it, because I like to do what we were talking about earlier, which is be in the moment and try to figure out what each moment is about and be there, and then do my best to commit to it. Now, the problem is my best to committing to it is not as good as other people's best to committing to it.
I think you shortchange yourself.
I don't know. We will have a review of many of my roles. I've had success in certain roles, and when I get a laugh from the audience, I know I've committed enough for them to believe me. I'm on a ride in Disneyland. In Disneyland, there's a ride soaring over California, and they ask you to take your ears off before you get on the ride, and I take my ears off and I look forlorn or whatever it is, and they routinely, this is the pre-ride for, I get a laugh from a room full of strangers when I do that. I was like, fantastic. I didn't do, the danger is to do it to overreact, and I didn't overreact so that I ruined the bit. I got shot in the head once in a movie, and I died in that movie, and I got a laugh on how I died, and I did it as real as I could, but just delayed my fall for just a little too long. And I was so happy, like, okay, that worked. Fantastic.
That reminds me, the show that I just talked about with Pressman, I actually had a dramatic monologue.
Okay.
And I've been rehearsing the whole time. And I started to do it, and I started to get laughs.
Right. Okay, and how'd you react?
I leaned into it, but,
Right. Did it throw you, though?
No, but anyway, it was interesting, because I do survive on laughs as well.
Right.
And so I did this comedy thing yesterday. If I could make the camera person shake the camera.
Yeah. No,
I don't want to ruin the
No,
tape.
but it's so great. Yes.
It's a very satisfying feeling. And if I'm not in front of a live audience, that's the only feedback I get.
Right.
And so I
Nothing worse than a crew that's so jaded that they're not going to laugh at anything. I love working with crews that are there to have fun. And that's one of the reasons they're doing it, is because they love entertainment, and many of them used to be actors, and many of them were, like people come on set saying, I guess you were born a cameraman. It's like, no, they weren't born a cameraman. They were born to, they figured out they went to theater arts, and they did a lot of things, and they fell into that particular wing of show business. But everybody's there to make something.
Everyone's an audience,
and everyone's an artist
potentially,
and everybody's there to make something great. So, but to make those people laugh is a great joy. I love that.
What I'm hearing from you, though, is that you aspire to do these things, and in my eyes, you're already doing it.
All right. Well, so I'm deluding myself. In your eyes, I'm this fucking nutbag.
No, not nutbag, but I think it seemed like you have this want.
I want to be, part of me wants to be this actor or writer guy who doesn't give a shit about the result, and I just put on, I'm a renegade, and I'm my own theater, and I'm just going to do what I want, and people are going to like it, and the people who don't like it are all jerks, and the people who love it get me, and they're right, and everybody else is wrong. I want to have that kind of attitude of the freedom of I'm righteousness. I'm right in my art, but I don't think art that way. I think art is is a negotiation in some ways. I'm trying something and it oftentimes doesn't work, and I have to revise it and revise it again and revise it again until I get it right.
Can you think of it more of like what you get satisfaction out of?
Well, writing's so hard that I don't
hate writing.
Enjoy writing. I enjoy being done with writing. Most writers feel that way. Almost everybody feels that way. So that part, but I get satisfaction out of it's show day and we're going to make it and we're going to put it on its feet. And even if there are problems, we're going to try and work it and make it better and see if we can make it even better and see what happens tomorrow and the next day. And watching it get better and better, that's fantastic. Or putting on or doing a movie where it's done and we're just doing the movie, seeing how we can rework the scene to make that get better and better. Or what's the way we can hit the joke as good as we can make it. And then taking it once we've done it and then putting it in the editing room and figuring out, okay, can we make it funnier now? It didn't turn out as well as we thought, or it turned out fine, but can we make it better? The constant improvement using skills we've developed over years that's a great joy.
The process, though.
The process.
Not the product.
The product
is extra.
At the end of the day, there's a premiere and people are going to see it and the reviews, and that's the product. And I want those things to be happy too. I want those people to then love me because I did this thing. I want them to say, Jay Kogan.
Everyone loves you.
Jay Kogan, brilliant genius, Jay Kogan, done it again. That headline has never been written. And I want that headline to be written everywhere.
You have to do it first for them to say you did it again.
Right. Done it again. I'm still struggling with that idea of would I do it for nothing? Would I do it for no? Like, writing is so hard. I don't think I'd do it for nothing. I would act for nothing.
What if that's your second act?
You think that now is a great time for an old white guy to get into the acting business?
This is your time.
Perfect.
This is your time.
Perfect. We need another old white actor to take the spot of all the
middle-aged Asian women in comedy have had their time in the sun.
It's been pretty sweet for you guys. Come on, let's be honest. Like I'm on the phone with Ming Na. I'm on the phone with Karen Moriyama, and it's like you're done. You guys are done.
We've had a great run.
Ming Na is supposed to be on the show. Ming Na says she's coming. I don't know. We'll see.
She's great. I played her sister in a ABC pilot.
Yeah,
Do you know how many pilots I've done?
I'm going to guess one every year for the last 25 years.
I did one every year for 19 years.
All right.
And then I did a bunch of, then I got busy.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. That people do pilot. And they used to be able to make a living by booking those pilots and say, okay, I made my year. I'm good. I made at least most of my year.
Because you would get paid double.
Right. Double your quote.
Double my quote. And then, so then I had money. So so basically failed pilots was my day job. Right. And then I would do theater. I would do storefront theater at night. Right. For no money.
Right. That's great. And
or like I did a show, 29 seats. I did and I got paid $5 a show.
So you asked me, what gives you the most satisfaction? What gives you the most satisfaction?
Oh, that's an interesting question. How dare you throw it back at me?
Right.
How dare you?
I know. You thought this was going to be just a softball. I sit here and you think, but no, now you're on the hot seat.
I like the creative process. I like the creative process of just having words and creating a character. And if I'm doing live theater, discovering new things every night, not changing anything, but saying the same words but making it different. Right. And I think the thing that forced me to do that was because there were no parts for me. There were no parts written for Asian women who did comedy.
I know so many of those white actresses doing those internment camp comedies. It was so unfair. It was so unfair.
So I had to take away all the physical descriptions, all the descriptions of the character, and I was just left with the text. And that forced me to be creative. How can I make these words come out of this mouth and make it funny and believable? But if I was white, I don't think I would have done that.
Interesting. But I mean, you're Asian, of course, but you're also Chicago. You're also like there's not it's not a far throw for you just to do a gal from Chicago doing a thing.
Yeah. But you can't get away when you look at me. It's a visual medium. I don't know if you're aware of it.
With my beauty.
Yes. Yeah.
People see this and they're put off. This guy can't be funny. He's too handsome. This
guy can't even be.
He's too handsome.
Yeah, you and Charlize are like, you're too beautiful.
Well, we talked about Charlize earlier. I did a movie where I had to write jokes for Charlize Theron, and it did not go well because Charlize. Maybe my jokes were terrible. It's maybe not her fault. Maybe it's also that she can't fucking tell a joke. I don't know.
Comedy legend Charlize Theron?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. I don't know. I love her acting. I think she's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Charlize, I want you on the show. Maybe this will hurt it a little bit. Maybe. I don't know if my shitting on your comedy
Come
chops.
on the show and tell him.
Defend yourself, Charlize. You know Charlize Theron, this will be in my memoir. I found her wallet once. at the Beverly Center.
Found is in quotes.
No, it was sitting on a payphone. This is how long ago it was.
Oh,
sitting
wow.
on a payphone. And it said Charlize Theron. She wasn't famous at the time. She was just Charlize. So my wife and I said, well, who's Charlize Theron? That's weird. And we had to go call SAG. She had a SAG card. Call SAG and say, we have this person's wallet. How do we find them? And they told us her agent. The agent said, take it to this address. We took it to this address, the shadiest fucking building you've ever seen in your life, and said, leave it in the mailbox.
Wait, was it at north of Hollywood Boulevard, east of La Brea?
I think it was south of Hollywood Boulevard. I think it was in down below in this of like below Sunset, like that area, but close. And then we delivered it to her, and then never heard back for anything. That's fine.
Sorry.
All right. But I'm glad she got it. And I remember the name Charlize Theron. What an interesting name. And then she became a movie star. Yeah. And I've seen her naked in the movies.
Okay, you don't have to write a memoir, but when you tell stories like this, will you write it down as soon as you think of it?
That's not that interesting.
But here's the thing. You're not thinking of a product. You're just writing it down.
Yeah. No, I understand. I could write a memoir. I want to do an episode of this show where I just have stories where I sit with a friend, Jim Colucci, or somebody who knows about celebrities, and just said, ask me names and I'll tell you stories about that person.
And your personal stories come out in your Philosophy Friday series and stuff like that. It's all fascinating, Jay.
I'm fascinating.
And people want to hear
Suzy, I'm fascinating. Suzy, let's move on to the next sections of our show because I think we've really milked dry this area. I haven't done a proper introduction for you. Oh. And we're almost done with the show.
All right. Well, they don't need to know.
All right. Anyway, Suzy Nakamura, a great actress, a very funny person, a delightful person, and somebody who I've been lucky enough to know and work with on many occasions. And you're great. So that's all anyone need to know.
And you're great too, and that's why I'm here.
I am great. That's true. Well, thank you. I'll take that. So we do a thing where listener mail. It's time for listener mail. So there's a theme.
Now it's time for listener mail.
Here's a question. It was interesting. This has come from Maynard. These are listener questions. Name. And he's asking, if you could relive any year of your life, which year would it be and why?
Oh, that's a
great
question. If I could relive, I think
I know the answer.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything that I regret, or if there's anything that I want to do over, or if there's any sort of highlight that I want to experience again. But at the same time, the reason that it's a highlight is that it was fleeting.
Right. But this is your little sci-fi rom-com thing where you've been given a special tincture, as you used before, and you can drink it down and suddenly transport yourself back to this time, this moment.
Okay, I would probably say 8th grade.
I was going to say before your parents left us.
I was going to say 8th grade.
Okay.
Not that my life was super shitty, but it wasn't great.
So you would go back in order to make it better?
No, I would just go back because I feel like that was it was still difficult, but it was a highlight. I met my best friend in 7th grade.
Right. Who was?
Connie Munoz.
Right.
And we did HMS Pinafore for our eighth grade production.
Wow, the kids must have been crazy for that.
No, the kids love Gilbert and Sullivan.
Kids ran away from that show. They could have done a million shows. Why do they pick the one show?
They were chanting operetta, operetta.
Teachers are idiots. Okay, but I'm glad you had a fun time. You did it.
It was fun,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And we did some bad things. I snuck out of my window.
Right.
We tried Marlboro Lights.
I was going to say, smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just fun.
What advice would you give that eighth grader now?
I would have them, I would have that eighth grader connect with her parents more.
Okay.
But you can tell an eighth grader that, and they're not going to listen.
It's you. You can prove to her that it's you, that you're the same person. It's me from the future. Mm-hmm. Take my word for it. You're going to want to connect with your parents. And here are some things you should know about mom and dad that you don't know about them that may help you connect to them a little bit better.
Also, Jay, I was an asshole. Mm-hmm. Like that. So that's why I want to tell. My mother wanted to take like a family portrait, and I was pissed off about some, don't even remember.
Right.
And I said, well, then I'm not going to the family portrait
right.
as a threat. And she was okay. And she did it. And there's a picture of just her and my brother.
Right. All right. Right.
But, you know.
And how'd you feel about that picture?
I was kind of fine.
Yeah.
I was kind of fine about it. But still, that's just it would be like, just do it for her.
Right. Okay. But I mean, the eighth grader doesn't want to do it for her.
I know.
Screw her. It's like, what about me? What about my feelings?
I know.
I'm not being seen. I'm not being heard.
This is the funny thing about your question, Maynard, is I would go back and I would relive it to try and sort of fix some mistakes, and I would do the exact same thing.
Right.
And to prove that it was still an asshole.
Were you a confident eighth grader?
Yeah.
That's so good.
You know what? It's like, because I started, we started working in seventh grade.
Yeah.
So I had money and I had a taste of independence. And so that kind of what made me an asshole. Because when my mother said, like, you can't do this, I'd be like, okay. And I just would do it
I don't need
anyway.
your permission?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. I would not know what to do with that girl. That would be out of control.
Yeah,
Difficult.
and so she would say, like, you know, go to your room. I'd be like, okay. And I would just I would crawl out of my window.
Right.
And go smoke cigarettes with Connie.
All right.
That's terrifying.
But something kids have to do.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Like I'm wondering, and maybe Charlie's done it, but I'm wondering what his rebellion has been, what it looked like. Like I can't know because I'm the dad, right? He has to hide that shit from me.
Yes.
And that's part of the rebellion.
I mean, part of his rebellion is that he wants to be an artist.
I guess so, but not really, because I'm all for it. It's great, good for him. Mm-hmm. But like he actually said to me on the show, is that like he wishes there was more pushback from me saying, I want you to be something else other than what you wanted. Don't follow your dreams. So he could have something to fight against. But I didn't give him that. So anyway.
Well, like, you know, conflict is good.
Yeah.
Conflict is good. Struggle is good. It creates character. It creates a sense of humor.
I run from the conflict. So it's okay. That's why I'm here to not have conflict. But
difficulty is good.
Yes, of course. It is good. But I've lived such a cushy life and been avoided
Then why
conflict.
are you so funny? It can't be that cushy, Jay.
Maybe I'm not that funny.
No,
ultimately,
I don't.
Maybe I'm not that funny. But it was, listen, I had my own outsiderness. That's why maybe I'm funny, because I was fat. And it was like, I saw myself as an outsider with otherness. And
all
so
the stories are about outsiders.
Yes. So that's what.
Clyde the masturbator is the ultimate outsider.
And yet he's the ultimate insider too. Because who better to represent all of us than this guy who only wants to seek pleasure? He only wants to have a little. He wants to feel good for a little bit in his life. Yeah,
it writes itself.
I know. That's a show I would never do, and not because masturbating. You know, it's like, I just no.
Yes, but if you and me and Pressman and a bunch of friends sat in a room and just for fun wrote this pilot,
it'd be great. It'd be fabulous.
I bet we could find something.
No, it'd be fantastic. Anytime people commit to doing something, it comes out good. If you commit to it,
Yeah.
that's the improv rule. If you commit to it, it will
Yes.
come out good. And one of the things I teach in my writing courses is that I'm a teacher at USC as well. But
You said that very pedantically.
well, they force you to. That's a course you take, and they say you have to be pedantic as a teacher. And you sit for hours. Oh, it takes forever. Is to try and write something that's bad. Tell me your worst idea. Tell me your worst idea. And then we all talk about the worst idea. And by the end of the conversation, it's our favorite idea because we explore it and we heighten it. And
My buddy Dave Keckner, when people want to like brainstorm, but they're afraid that it's a bad idea, he says, "Okay, worst idea ever," and he just gets the ball rolling.
Right.
It's a great thing. It's like, okay, here, worst idea. Let's just start.
Right.
Worst idea ever. It's great.
You answered Maynard's question,
Thank you,
which is
Maynard.
fantastic. Thank you, Maynard. We have something on our show we like to call the moment of joy.
A moment of joy.
What gives you joy? Like on a day-to-day basis, what's something that gives you joy?
Well, lately,
For me, it's masturbation.
you and Clyde,
Right.
Write what you know.
Exactly.
Lately, I have been, because there was a writer's strike and then a very long writer's strike, and there was a very long. I'm sorry, you're
What?
always
There's
the
a
last
writer's
to know.
strike?
They're always the last to know.
Oh my God.
And there was
That
an
must've-
actor's strike, and so I started. I knew how to crochet. Learned how to crochet
right.
as a kid. I started crocheting again.
Right.
And I discovered that it's part meditation because it's sort of like repeated motion. It relaxes me. It relieves anxiety. But there's a creative part to it where I look at something and think like, can I crochet that? That kind of thing. And joy to me is closely related with bliss and stillness and silence. Not like roller coaster joy. So I've been crocheting a lot. But the interesting part of that was that I already knew how to do it, and I forgot that I knew how to do it.
When you are crocheting, are you in the moment of working the piece, or is your brain in a peaceful place that's just not on automatic exactly, but just, you know how it's almost like a meditation. Like some art, it can be like meditation, some hobbies can be like meditation, and others are like, I'm expending brain power. How are you approaching your crochet?
There's two kinds.
Yes.
One that I do sometimes, like if I want to follow a pattern closely, it's very like, okay, then you do 2 back loop only, so you're following a pattern, you have to concentrate. But the other kind is like if I make something big, like a bag or a sweater, where you start it and then you can just repeat it, and I could do like put the television on or something like that. But I could also meditate like while doing the dishes and other folding laundry.
Do you like big projects when you crochet, like specific projects?
No, because I like the end, but it'll take me whatever, a week or 2 weeks to do
So
something.
if I asked you to crochet me a leisure suit, that would take a while?
It would take a while with the fittings and stuff. Have you ever noticed that when you close your eyes, your hearing gets better?
No. Is that true?
You want to try it right now?
Sure. I hear things. I kind of hear the same thing. Well, once they've been brought, I hear it. That guy.
So
yeah.
So I've noticed.
You can't hear it, audience, but there's a guy down the street talking.
When I closed my eyes, I could hear the traffic became more prominent, and then this conversation below that window became more prominent. I don't know if that's like an actual thing, but I've noticed that when I go.
Well, your brain is doing less work when your eyes are closed. It's just doing the senses that it's feeling.
And so if I'm crocheting and it's sort of a repeated motion, I don't have to necessarily look all the time. I feel like I'm more present. It's almost like when you turn off one sense, the other senses become clearer.
Okay, sure. Do you do good thinking when you crochet? Can you think of good ideas?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. It's just sort of, it quiets my mind.
Yeah.
And in the same sense, I've stopped going to museums with people. I've always gone to museums alone, but now I actually avoid, I seek it out.
Right.
Because when people aren't talking to me, I feel like my eyes work better.
I have a thing where I can only be in a museum for about, 40 minutes. And then I'm out.
Do you go by yourself?
Usually. I almost go nowhere by myself. But if I would go to a museum by myself in New York or something like that. But mostly I go with people. But I'm okay to separate and then just walk around by myself for a while if I really want to take in the art. But I do need, it's too much information and I do need to take a break.
Oh, okay.
Like we went to the Louvre and we went to Europe not long ago, and it's like, oh, holy shit. And there's a great museum in the middle of Florence, Italy that's fantastic. It's like, and it was like, I booked a tour. It's like, I have to stop this. I'm done.
It's overwhelming.
Overwhelming. It's too much art, too much stimulation, too many ideas are being thrown at me, too much history, too much,
there's chiller museums.
I'm not dissing the museum. I loved it. But I just want to take in what I can take in. So
you're a sensitive soul.
I'm so sensitive. I'm such a flower.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
I'm sorry I didn't solve your problem.
It's not a solvable thing exactly. I wanted it, and you told me, wanted the point of view of the person who just said, like, listen, it's about the doing, and it's about what we get from the doing. It's not about the end result. And I know that, and it's what I have to do anyway. I don't have control over the end result. Even if I tried to make the exact show that a viewer or a network or a streamer wanted, I'm wrong every time. So that's never an option. The option is only write what I love and then hope that I can form it in a way and explain it in a way that will make other people excited about actually making it.
And I'm such a fan of your point of view that I just want to make sure it doesn't stop you from creating. So that's what I want to encourage you to do, to just keep doing it.
I do keep doing it because we need to make money. Have you met my wife?
Yes.
She spends money like it's fucking water.
Really good taste.
She is not. Oh my God. She is like, it's not. When she says, I'm going to cut down this month, she's not talking about cutting down in any reasonable way. She's saying, let's spend a little bit less here or there. It's like, oh.
I have the privilege of not being responsible for anyone else either, too. So
that's right.
Maybe I'm less motivated.
No, that's true, too. Like I have a family and I have a wife and I've got parents and I've got relatives and things. So, yeah, I gotta work. Baby needs new shoes.
Yeah. And so for some Yahoo to come in here and go, just do whatever you want and don't get paid. It's just sort of a privilege.
But the advice of that is sound in that it's the doing of it that will, without needing the end result to be any particular thing is the only way we really can do it. It's the only way it will really happen.
And as I get older, just like I really want to seek joy more than thinking about, will this make money? Will this make other people happy?
Right. I'm waiting for that act 2, that very exciting act 2. And I'm if I become an actor, it'll be all because of you said that's what I should do. So
if you like it.
I do like it, but it's very, very, the reason I stopped acting when I was a kid is auditioning sucked.
You're at a point where people will say, Jay, will you do this?
No, people have, and I do it every time. I say yes, no matter how degrading the part.
Let's put it out there. Jay Kogan is an actor. He's open to parts.
Parts, degrading, perverted, whatever it is, I don't care.
Tell me what you want to do. I'm so excited right now. Yeah. Tell me what you want to do. You want to play like a doctor? Are you good at lawyers? Are you be a great, like, funny? I've been a mobster. I've been a nerd. You'd be a great best friend. You'd be a great neighbor. Yeah, any of that. But I mean, I don't even have to tell. Those are the parts that are going to be available to me. This is not. What about this? Yeah. What about you're the lead in your own show? That's a huge mistake. Jay. That's a huge mistake. Wait, no. That's a huge mistake. Navigating the world. It's a very close version of Jay Kogan. When has it worked? It's worked once. Kogan. It's worked once. One time. Larry David is the star of his own show because he was a failed comic and he just happened to create the most successful sitcom on the face of the earth, and he became famous as a writer and therefore used his fame to put himself in a TV show. It worked once. I did the pilot. I did the pilot of Curb Your Enthusiasm. All that money's coming to you every episode because you did the pilot. Fantastic. Then I came back as another character. Oh, fantastic. Good for them. I asked Larry recently, why wasn't I ever on Curb Your Enthusiasm? So why didn't you put me on? You put worse actors, people who are not actors, like just people. And he just said,
you're not in my orbit. You weren't in my orbit. I wasn't thinking about you. It's like, how hard is it to think about me? Come on, Larry. So too late now. It's over.
We're putting it out there now that Jay is a talented improviser and actor.
I'm going to get Larry on the show to explain himself why he didn't put me on the show. Speaking of which, so the real reason you're here is because you tangentially know Tom Hanks. Tangentially.
Tangentially.
You're the closest person I know to Tom Hanks. Like, you barely know him, and you're the closest person I know to Tom Hanks. You have to get to Tom Hanks so he can be on the show. That's your assignment. Okay. I don't know how you're going to do it. I can't even call Nia to get to Tom Hanks.
Why not?
I don't know her that well. That's an assignment.
Okay.
You're going to see what that takes. Thank you for being here. You were fantastic. You were lovely. I knew that you'd be great. And you'll be back again, even though you don't want to be. I'll force you back here. And I love you. And you're really a lovely person.
Thank you, Jay. I love being in my life. I love being forced to think about things. And that's what this show does.
Yes. It forces you to think about things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So great. Well, thank you. And thank you, audience, for joining us with Suzy Nakamura. If you have anything that you want to write in and tell me what I'm doing terribly or what I'm doing well, you can write to dbawjk@gmail.com. And I'll read your emails and respond as best I can.
And if you have any parts for Jay Kogan,
write that email. They could be right there. And go forth into the world. And there's a lot of great things to do. And share your life with people so you don't have to be alone with Jay Kogan.
Don't be